So while we're here, I'm going to go ahead and remove the eccentric shaft sensor. There's 3 10mm bolts, 2 on top, 1 on the bottom, which is accessed through this, there's a little access hole right there. So I'm going to go ahead and throw a paper towel in here just to prevent the bolts from falling down into the motor. I think they aren't able to come out completely, so it probably won't be a problem, but just in case. So let's start with this bottom one. Crack her open. Okay. That's loosened. Just kind of back this guy out. I have my box wrench. We'll crack these guys open. Out. Okay, so then you just pull up on the sensor. You might have to back in. That bottom bolt a little bit once you break it free from the actual mounting point, because it's a little, just kind of protrudes and blocks shit. So, as I said, I'm just gonna stick this back in there. Back it up a little bit to give myself a little more space to pull this guy out. Okay, still not enough. Okay. And there she is. That's it. The eccentric shaft sensor. It's not a hard replacement process, but it's definitely a time-consuming one. So here's my new one. It's from FCP Euro. It's a VDO brand, which is apparently bought out by Continental, or owned by Continental maybe, because it came in a Continental box. But it also says Continental, but it's the correct part numbers and whatnot, and this is what they sold me. So it's going in. But yeah, same thing. Might have to back this bolt in a little bit in order to create space, and then I'll loosen it once it's all in there. Okay. So now I can kind of get these bolts started. Actually, I'm gonna loosen this guy a little bit. Okay. Okay. Loosen that. So now I can start bolting these guys in. And the torque spec for these is about 10 Newton meters. So that's the equivalent of about 88.5 inch-pounds. So it's not much. Obviously can't fit a torque wrench in these top bolts. You can use a crow's feet adapter if you want. I don't know. I'm pretty confident in getting these hand tight and calling it a day. So I'll torque the bottom one to spec, get a kind of feel for it, and then we'll go from there. Okay. Okay, so before I run out of time, I'm just gonna torque this guy down. Got my torque wrench set to about 88.5 inch-pounds. So I'll just stick her in here and go ahead and torque it. So it's not gonna be much. Alright, that's it. Good and tight. So I'm just gonna take my wrench, box wrench real quick, and then give it a little. Okay, should be good. Good and tight, guys, good and tight. Okay, should be good. Okay, that's tight. That's tight. Okay, so that's it. That's the removal and installation of your eccentric shaft sensor. That's all it is. So yeah, after removal of the valve cover, I realized that it's probably going to be a real pain in the ass to get the valve cover back on without knocking the gasket out of place. So did a little more research, and it looks like you can kind of remove a few bolts from the wiper cowl and just basically allow it to move up and down so you can have a little extra space. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to do that. I'm going to remove this cover right here. There should be 3 bolts. There's one right there on the left side. There should be one in the center right there, which I'm missing. And then there's another bolt right there. So I'm going to remove those. I should be able to take that little center panel off. And then there should be one more bolt in here, as you can see right there, in the cabin air filter slot. So I'm going to remove those, and that should give me more access for putting that valve cover back on. So in order to pull off this cover and get access to this bolt, I'm also going to have to move this strut bar out of the way. So I'm just going to take out this bolt, and I should be able to slide it off since I already undid that nut right there. Should be an E14. Yeah. There's that. Now that I have access to these, I'm going to go ahead and pull these out. Try not to drop on anything. And again, there should be a 3rd bolt right here, but I am missing it, so. Ooh. Risky. Risky! Okay, so I should be able to pull this cover off now. Maybe. Okay. So there's that cover. Okay, so this one's a little bit hard to reach. Need it's another 10mm nut, I think. Let's see if I can reach it with the little wobble guy. Little wobble boy. Okay, on. With that loosened up, I can now kind of move this a little bit more, and I can probably get the valve cover on a little bit easier. I basically pulled out all of these guys, all of these bolts from the valve cover. I'm going to go ahead and remove this gasket for the Valvetronic sensor. I'm also going to remove this bracket right here, which is held in by these two screws right here in the middle, and then this middlemost, the centermost screw. Maybe these guys too. This is also the mount for the Valvetronic motor. So once you remove that bracket, you'll have access to this centermost bolt on the valve cover, and this is also the longest bolt, so kind of keep that in mind. There it is, and during reinstall, remember this black stripe points upwards. So I'm going to take the oil filler cap off real quick as well. Okay. I'll take this gasket off as well. Okay. So now I should be able to, I'm going to pull off this old gasket real quick. I want to tip this over because I've got some oil in here. So I'll just rip the old gasket off. Get the spark plug gaskets off as well. Okay. All good. Should be good to clean it all up. Okay, gave the valve cover a good cleaning. Now I'm just going to pull off the eccentric shaft sensor gasket. Okay, there's that. Just kind of got to push it down. There's that. So I have this super high-tech gasket sealant right here. So these spark plug hole gaskets, they only go on one way. It's not a perfect circle, they're a little like oblong. So like I said, I'm going to be using some of this super high-tech gasket sealant. You just got to spread a little bit on these, and it's just to make sure they don't fall off during assembly. So I'm just going to put it on the surface that's going inside of the gasket. Uh-oh. Really don't need that much. Just a little bit. So this isn't really for any sort of sealing. It's just gonna help keep everything in place while I try to maneuver the valve cover on. Okay, so I'm just gonna wait for this to become tacky. Okay. That's good, so we'll go ahead and get this first one on real quick. Okay, we'll start in the center. Okay. Okay, so it's gonna go like this. So we'll just start here in the corner. Okay, that's it. Ready to go on the car. So I'm gonna grease the Valvetronic motor splines. I was able to get some BMW long time PD1 grease. This shit's pretty difficult to find. A lot of places were out of stock or had like a 2 to 3 day shipping lead time or a couple weeks. Some places were out of stock for like a month. So I was able to actually find this brand new tube on eBay. It was 30 bucks, so kind of sucks because I'm probably never going to use it again. And again, you probably don't need to grease this thing up, but it's probably worth, or I'd much rather do it and not worry about it than to not do it. So to me it's worth the 30 bucks, but you know, the whole assembly gets covered in oil anyway, so again, I really don't know why it's necessary, but this is what they recommend, so here we go. Okay, got my grease. Sorry if I don't have a great angle for you. This is the best I can do. As you can see, I got some grease on there, and also you can see the sprocket right there. So that's all greased up. Alright, here goes nothing, the moment of truth. Let's try and see if I can finagle this valve cover on here without fucking a bunch of shit up. There we go. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Alright, so now I'm just going to verify that my gasket is indeed seated properly where it needs to be. Make sure it's not like sticking out anywhere. Nice, even was able to easily get it onto the sensor as well. It's supposed to be easier to install the valve cover without putting this gasket in first for the eccentric shaft sensor, so it's nice that I was able to do it easily. Let's go ahead and bolt this guy up. Alright, everything's going to be getting torqued down to 80 inch-pounds. So we're going to start from the center and work our way out. Okay, last one. Alright, all done. Alright guys, now that the valve cover is back on and everything's torqued down, we can go ahead and start reassembling everything and throwing on the rest of the gaskets. So let's start with the eccentric shaft sensor. So I've got my gasket right here, and I have a 30mm socket, which I'm going to use to just basically press the gasket into place. You can use a 30 or even a 32, just anything that's going to clear the actual eccentric shaft. Or you could also use like the end of a socket extension, just push it in and then just kind of tap around it. So you don't need any lube on this. Just make sure it's all cleaned off. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and press this guy in, like so. Just make sure it's all even. Okay. So yeah, I got the sensor on. I'm just going to give it a couple whacks to make sure it's fully seated. Still got a little ways to go. Okay. That should be good. Oh, no, still got a little more on this side here. Okay, that should be good. Alright, next up I'm going to go ahead and install my ignition coil sleeves. These all just snap into the cylinder, into the housing. Okay, there you go. So yeah, they're meant to, oops, go down and squeeze into the cylinder head a little bit. It's kind of hard to get them to actually snap into place. You might have to squeeze them a little bit. There you go. I'm seeing that a good way to get it in is to like push it in and then just twist it while pushing down. It ends up kind of pushing the spring in on the bottom. Cool. So those guys are in now. Alright, let's get to installing the Valvetronic motor. So don't forget about the bottom bracket, the bottom mounting bracket bolts. I never tightened these guys down, so let's go ahead and do that. So this is just Torx T30. This is a security bit, so it's got like the center hole, the hole in the center. So just be aware. No real specific torque to them. I'm just gonna get them tight enough. Now we can go ahead and install the Valvetronic gasket. Okay, so here we have the gasket for the Valvetronic motor. When this goes in, make sure that this stripe right here in the center is pointed towards the ceiling. You know, you want that pointed facing upwards. So let's just go ahead and put this guy in. Alright, so this is probably not quite necessary. You know, in a perfect world you shouldn't have to do this, but I don't want to deal with any more leaks on this fucking valve cover, so yeah, basically I'm just going to apply some RTV around the valve cover portion, and then I'm also going to put some RTV around the mounting face. If you look at the gasket, there's going to be RTV around this whole thing, and then also on the mating surface, just to ensure that there won't be any leaks. I guess I could probably apply it here, that'd probably be easiest. But yeah, and then I'm also going to put it on the this surface as well. This mating surface with the Valvetronic motor. Like I said, I'm going to put RTV around this portion, just in this gap right here, and then I'm also going to put RTV around here, all the way around here. So let's do it. Okay, so let's go ahead and mount this guy now. You're gonna make sure that that line right here in the center, this stripe, is facing upwards. So let's go ahead and get this guy on. Once I get done torquing that, I'm going to apply RTV to the actual Valvetronic motor itself, and then we'll stick it in there. Shouldn't have to do it around the mounting holes. I should just have to do it around the centermost ring. Okay, so it's been about an hour, so I'm gonna go ahead and tighten up this gasket. Just gonna do it hand tight. Okay, good. Okay. Should be good. So now I'm going to go ahead and apply some RTV to the Valvetronic motor. Alright, sorry about the angle. Can't quite fit the camera in here. But yeah, I'm just going to apply some RTV directly to here because I don't know the exact area on the motor. So yeah, I'll just apply it directly onto this thing, onto the gasket itself. So yeah, here you can kind of see what I did. I just put the RTV around the center portion, and that should keep any oil leaking out from that part. Okay, so now we're going to get ready to install the Valvetronic motor. I cleaned mine off as best as I could with some electronics cleaner. I just wanted to make sure that the gasket mating surface was like clean of the old gasket and shit, because it kind of like gets stuck on there. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and just grease this spline right here, the little worm gear. I already greased the gear inside the valve cover. I'm going to throw some grease on here, the Lifelong PD1 grease from BMW, and then we're going to insert it, start my nuts, or start my bolts, and then we're going to screw it into service mode before we fully torque it down. Okay, so I should be able to pop this guy in. Okay. Let's try to suck this guy in here. Okay. Got it sucked in there, so I'm going to try to put these bolts in there now. Okay, so it's been about an hour now. So the RTV should be pretty good by now. So I'm just going to torque it down to 88.5 inch-pounds or 10 Newton meters. Okay, it's torqued down, so I'm just going to tighten up this, the bottom mount real quick. No specific torque spec, just good and tight. Okay, that should be tightened up, and that's it. Hopefully that won't leak now. It shouldn't. But yeah, only time will tell. So once that's done, I'm just going to take the motor out of service mode, and that basically I'm going to go counterclockwise until you feel tension. So. Okay, so that should be good. Out of service mode. I guess now we can go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and put my oil cap back on, as well as the little gasket thing that goes here. And this isn't a sealing gasket or by any means, so I just cleaned it up and I'm reusing this. Assuming it goes like that. Yeah, that looks right. With a little divot there. Alright, BMW. Boom!